Good evening and welcome to the 1st of December show. One more to go before the end of the year. You're with You and Your Money, I'm Bryan. There's a big difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. Tax avoidance allows individuals and corporates to minimize tax by utilizing all the potential tax deductions. Medical aid allows members to choose what benefits they want. The same goes for investments. Tonight I'm deviating slightly and I'll be focusing on the business acquisition in South African cash flow, transformation and the capital gap. And joining in this evening is Nadia Raji, CEO and Chief Visionary Officer of Uzenzela Holdings. I'm so proud of Nadia, as approximately 18 to 20 years ago, Nadia was part of the Laruma group of young students who were interested in the investment world. I introduced them to leaders of industries whilst looking after their money, who were all willing to impart their knowledge to these young students. 30 of them in total. All of them have grown to run their own businesses, and I'm fortunate still to mentor many of them. Nadia works across the full spectrum of enterprise development, capital raising, and deal making in South Africa, with a strong focus on the missing middle of those businesses, turning over roughly 50 million to 500 million that are too big for microfinance but often unreserved by traditional lenders. Under her leadership, Uzenzela helps these businesses raise growth and capital projects, strengthening their funding readiness and build the capacity needed to scale and industrialize. The team also supports corporates with enterprise and supplier development programs and runs a business brokerage division that prepares and structures acquisitions and succession details. On the acquisition side, they guide both buyers and sellers through valuations, due diligence, and the bankability worker that makes transitions fundable. She brings a practical view of what actually gets financed in South Africa and what it takes to buy, build, or transition a business in today's environment. Nadia, after that long introduction, welcome to you. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me back, Bryan.
Okay, so I'm going back to grassroots. Please, there's a lot of people who are not aware what is grant funding, who qualifies, how does it work, and so many people don't even know that it's available. So really interested in you answering this first question, which really for you was your grassroots formation of Uzenzela.
Thanks so much for that, Bryan. And yes, not many people are aware of grant funding and incentives. It's an amazing form of funding that's available through the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition primarily, and it's for businesses. It's a non-repayable support from the government. It's effectively our tax money going to good work. And so that means that this grant funding is available primarily for economic impact, for job creation, for growth, and it's available to anyone that qualifies for the grant funding. There are various different incentives and grants available, and really it depends on who is and who isn't eligible for the different funds that are available.
Okay, well, the difficulty is that many grant applicants are required, this I do know, are required to provide a business plan, and often they have no ability to actually provide such a business plan. It's foreign to them. Do you assist businesses in preparing and structuring a business plan to support their grant funding application?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we do, Bryan, is we help businesses understand their plan. A business plan is a document that we all have heard about. It's the final product of planning what the business actually is about. Planning what project a business is going to go into. A lot of that's stuck in business owners' minds and CFOs' minds because they're so busy with the day-to-day. They know where the opportunity is. They have the frameworks and the principles available to them. But pulling it all together in detailed financial models, project motivations, and supporting documents is the key that unlocks funding from primarily public sector, but also a lot of the private sector. We see this often, even from the banks. The banks ask for a financial model, for business plans, and businesses struggle to provide that information in a way that the decision makers at these institutions can actually take decisions and disperse funding.
No, I mean, that is a major problem for so many people. They've got a good idea, they've got they're doing well in what they know best. There's a lot that they don't know, and the minute they want money, we want a business plan. But please explain the advantages and problems encountered with helping businesses access grant funding.
Fantastic. So the advantages are that the cost of capital of an incentive or a grant is zero, meaning you're not paying any capital back, you're not paying any interest back. So anything you invest into getting grant funding out is pure investment, and you're never having to repay that. Why do you not need to repay that? It's because you're effectively putting in a tender to government to say, I will unlock certain growth, I'll create certain jobs, I'll become competitive, and I will grow the economy. The challenges are that it's highly technical, it's document heavy, it's slow, and compliance must be very clean. And businesses often underestimate the preparation that's needed. And the big challenge really is that poor submissions lead to long delays or declines.
Nadia, before I go into the next question, I'm going to go to an email, which was from Craig in Nelspruit. He says, when you've been granted funds, does the government or institution that have lent you the money get involved in the business?
So they don't get operationally involved. They do have oversight and reporting rights. So similarly, if you're saying, I'm going to government, I'd like to get a grant out from government, or I'd like to go and get a loan from the IDC, the requirement from their side is to ensure that that money actually gets properly used, that where it's a loan, that it is repaid. But do they get operationally involved day to day? No, they don't.
And Nadia, let's talk about corruption, because it's a big word on everyone's mouth. When you get funding, is there the possibility that it's a scam, someone's going to steal the money, there's going to be corruption and everything worked out there?
So certainly there's a lot of corruption that takes place in these big incentives. You're talking about 50 million rand of grant funding, for example, in black industrialists. So when you look at it, yes, there's a lot of corruption taking place on. A lot of the times it's actually the business owners that are trying to get a quick fix in terms of I can get 50 million rand in grant funding. And the quick fix, if you're looking for a quick fix, that's when you know there's going to be something wrong. As long as you're going through the process the right way, which takes time, it takes energy, it takes compliance, then there's nothing to be corrupt about.
Okay, Nadia, just give me a couple of examples of different industries that Uzenzela has raised money for and helped people raise money.
Awesome. So primarily in the manufacturing space, we've helped across different sectors and industries. So food and beverage, we've helped businesses access capital, both debt and grant funding. A really nice one that we've recently done is in mineral beneficiation. We talk about this a lot in South Africa. We've got the minerals, are we beneficiating them? And that started as an acquisition. So where a business owner went and acquired a mineral beneficiation, taking a raw material and processing that, and then over time was able to expand that business, replace the equipment. And today that business is doing really well. So it's everything from mineral beneficiation to food and bev, fast-moving consumer goods, in diapers, for example, in various different sectors. We've helped, really, we look at what does it take to manufacture something, what are the inputs, what are the raw materials, what goes into it and what comes out. And we build the whole business case around availability of different raw materials, availability of supply, what is the demand, and we understand the intricacies of how all of that comes together so that we can unlock capital, third-party capital, and through your suppliers, your customers, and so really being engineers with the cash flow that's available in your business.
So Nadia, as I said, I'm meeting with a client this afternoon. He's got a chrome mine, he's extracting chrome, and now it's a question of him expanding the mine and also obviously selling the chrome. Is this somewhere where,
Yes.
It's a much smaller business than what you've spoken about, but is this the type of thing you're talking about, helping where government grant could help him expand the business to be able to export chrome?
Yes, so how something like that could work, for example, it's about establishing a washing plant because he would have enough capacity or he would have enough product that he would need a washing plant alongside some of the other miners in the area that are credible miners to get it to a certain grade that allows for export at a reliable scale.
Okay.
And that is where debt and or grant funding would come together in different ways and forms to help businesses to access that.
Okay, so I think we've dealt a
capacity.
lot with grants. We're going to get a couple of questions there, but let me go to something differently. South Africa has thousands of established cash flows generating business whose owners are near retirement, particularly in sectors that are essential for industrialization, localization, and supply chain continuity. Buying an existing business is a lower risk and more economically productive option than starting one from scratch. How does your organization assist in facilitating this?
Thanks, Brian. So a lot of people may have heard of, there's the baby boomers that are now coming out of the economy as productive contributors. And they've been here for such a long time, have created these great businesses. They're tired. Their children don't want to take over the business, but there's opportunity. And most of them see that there's a lot of opportunity. They just don't have it in them anymore to continue. And so what we do is we have a brokerage division and we help sellers identify the opportunity to actually sell, get them to a point where their valuations make business sense. And it's a valuation that can actually be bought at. So these are independent businesses. They're typically businesses that most corporate finance houses would deem too small to get involved in. Most banks would be cautious about getting involved in. What we do is we plug that gap. We help those independent business owners to realize their 10, 20, 50 million rand worth of value that they've created over many years and pass it on to credible hands that can then take that legacy forward for another 50 years.
Well, I think that's fair because there are so many businesses, so many people watching the program who are retiring, in retirement or planning to retire, children living overseas, not interested in the businesses their parents have created and developed for them. We'll deal with it when we come back. Well, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned and we'll return shortly.